You are your hair. Yeah, a Negro jump up and say, yeah, united we stand. They don't mean you. That means the white man. White man is the one who stands united. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that these devils went back into Arabia. When they got there, they started telling lies. They started confusion. And in 6 months' time, they had turned heaven into hell. Oh yeah, I had so much fighting going on among our people, brother. It became hell. We never did fight each other. We loved each other. We're in harmony with each other. And when these devils came back into our midst, they turned our paradise into a hell. So it was taken to the king, and the king looked in the book and said, "Well, these are Yaqub's people. They were made to do what they're doing, and the only way we'll have peace is to get rid of all of them, put them all to death." So the king gave the order for all of the devils to be rounded up. And by devil now I mean all those blue-eyed, blonde-haired white things. He gave orders for them to be rounded up. They're in the east. And they were rounded up. They were rounded up and taken down to the edge of the Arabian desert. They were stripped naked, stripped of everything except their language. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that we put a lambskin apron around their waist to hide their nakedness. We put them in chains and marched them across the hot sands of the Arabian desert. This is what the black man did to the white man, brother. This is what the gods did to the devil. Actually, if you think that I don't know what I'm talking about, those of you who are Masons, those of you who have gone into the Masons, you go through this and don't understand. When you go in, they put a lambskin apron around your waist. They put you in what's called the cable tow, right or wrong. And then they make you jump up and down on an electric mat. Make you take off your shoes and put the juice in the mat and make you jump up and down. Why? What are they getting at? That's all a sign of what happened to the white man 6,000 years ago. It just don't have nothing to do with you. But you're supposed to be walking the hot sands when you jump up and down. Right or wrong? You all been in some of that stuff. They tell you that that's crossing the hot sand. And you go up to old Negro Mason and ask him, when you cross the hot sands, were you walking or right? He tell you, I was walking. He's a fool. So he was. Okay, we're going to stop right there. Oh boy, it's time for us to get back to our roots and get on that train back to our mind of knowledge and greatness. Now, I'm going to talk about some books that I've been reading since America became president elected. He ain't there yet. Okay. I'm reading this book, Cause of the War Between the States. Okay, this is what got me really interested, and I'm going to read this book and I'm going to finish it. That's my plan. This book proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that the North did not go to war to free the slaves or end slavery. The North went to war because it faced economic annihilation and a Southern competitor that controlled the most demanded commodity on earth, cotton. The North's economy was based mostly on manufacturing for the South and shipping Southern cotton around the world. So people around the world, okay, let me get off. Let me just stick to the cotton alone was 60% of U.S. exports in 1860. When the South succeeded, the Northern economy began a dramatic collapse. And by wartime, there were hundreds of thousands of hungry, unemployed Northerners in the street. And the tocsin of war sounded. Economically ignored, Northern leaders then passed the astronomical morale tariff that threatened to destroy the high tariff North and into the low tariff South. The morale tariff was like pumping gasoline into an already raging fires. Abraham Lincoln was the first
sectional president in American history. He was the president of the North, and the North was clamoring for war. He saw an opportunity to start it without appearing to be the aggressor, and he took it. Thus, he started a war that killed 800,000 men and women. No, 800,000 men and wounded 1,000,000. The idea that the good North was so outraged over slavery that they marched armies into the South to free the slaves is absurdity of biblical proportions, and this book proves it. By Gene Kaiser Jr., who graduated magna cum laude from the College of Charleston in 2000 at middle age with historical departmental honors and the highest award for the history department. Yeah, this book got me like, what? Historians used to know, and it was not too long ago, that the war between the states had more to do with economics than it did with slavery. Now, as I was reading it, it was like, wow, I'm learning a lot. Just like I didn't know the black man that invented the cotton gin had a plantation and had 50 slaves. A black man. Now, of course, I knew that it was black men out here that had slaves and owned slaves, sold people into slavery. Yes, I know that. But a lot of people don't. And we have been around here thinking all this time that the North rescued us. No, Lincoln did not rescue us. We have been lit. And you know what? When America says I was the best, I did more for black folks than Lincoln did, he was right. Because Lincoln really didn't do nothing, no more than what he needed to do to try to help the North get their economics back. Yeah. The North did not go to war to end slavery. If they had, they would have started by passing a Constitution Amendment abolishing slavery. But that's not what they did. They did the opposite. They overwhelmingly passed the Corwin Amendment, which left black people in slavery forever, even beyond the reach of Congress. This alone proves unequivocally that the North did not go to war to end slavery or free the slaves. Yeah. The perfect storm for economic disaster in the North is the secession. The secession cost the North its southern manufacturing market. The Morrill, Morrill, tariff threatened to cost the North its shipping industry as U.S. trade was immediately rerouted away from the high tariff North and into southern ports where protective tariffs were unconstitutional. Okay? So the North was putting high tariffs on the South for their cotton and all the other stuff that they had down here. And so when they succeeded from the Union, they weren't getting that money. They weren't getting that tariff. They wasn't getting that, you know. And we reading here and learning that it was two things caused the war, and slavery wasn't one of them. Yeah, this is a very interesting book, and I'm gonna read a little bit more out of it later. But also, I want to tell you about this other book, these other books that called "Slavery and the Civil War." The Civil War that wasn't. The southern states that succeeded from the Union had neither desire nor the plans to take command of the country. They simply wanted to withdraw from it, and arguably, according to even some modern constitutionalists and historians, had the right to do so. They had the right to do it based upon the nation's origins. Virginia, New York, and Rhode Island demanded that the right of secession be reserved before they would even agree to the Constitution, thereby implying that secession was indeed a right reserved by individual states. The United States had, after all, seceded from Great Britain only 2 generations before the states of the Confederacy did so. And the war was for Southern independence. Say, the South wanted to keep their slaves, the and since Lincoln was the president of the North, he really, at first he implemented a amendment that would have kept slavery in forever. But we all know that as time went on, you weren't going to be able to enslave us forever. That's no, no. You just can't do it. But what they did was they put in amendments like the 13th Amendment that you can't be enslaved, you can't own people, but you can get them to work for free for punishment and stuff like that. So this is another book that I am reading because it all tells you why America is the way it is. And because we're not learning this is why us Black people are so easily fooled. In no way in the world, 20, 30 years ago, would you have found any Black person, well, I ain't gonna say not any, but you wouldn't have had but a few Black people supporting the racists. Well, for one thing, because most Black people 20, 30 years ago was like in the same boat. You had one or two, even the ones that had money, they still had their dignity. They still knew where they stand in life in America. They were still Black. Okay. These rich ones, these rich Black folks now, not so much. And also, I'm going to tell you about another good book to read. Emancipation from the from mental slavery. This was selected sayings of Marcus Garvey, which we don't hear enough about. He had the right mindset. Yeah, I might as well leave this America because y'all gonna always be black, and that's it in America. Let Africa be our guiding star, our star of destiny. We don't have that now. We actually got people thinking that Africa is not our home. Africa does not want us. Africa is just as is the worst place on the world in the world. How dare anyone tell us that Africa cannot be redeemed when we have 400 million, now over 1 billion men and women with warm blood coursing through their veins? We have gotten away from the plot of our ancestors and how they have been stricken, how they were treated. You could tell by these young ones the way they live their life. They have forgot the agony that their ancestors were caused by these Europeans and how they are still being colonized. They have been blinded by these sparkly things. The power that holds Africa is not divine. The power that holds Africa is human. And it is recognized that whatsoever man has done, man can do. No one knows when the hour of Africans' redemption cometh. It is in the wind. It is coming. One day, like a storm, it will be here. When that day comes, all Africa will stand together. And sane man, race, or nation that desires freedom must first of all think in terms of blood. Why, even the Heavenly Father tells us that without the shedding of blood, there can be no remission of sins. Then, how, in the name of God, with history before us, do we expect to redeem Africa without preparing ourselves that some of us to die? And that's where we're failing at. A lot of us are willing to die for drugs, alcohol, crime, lust, willing to die for robbing a store for a couple $1,000 or maybe even a couple $100, but will not die for the redemption of our ancestors. A lot of these young ones have the mindset, not what you've done for me, is what you could do for me now. They don't care about our ancestors dying for us to have the little rights we do have now. They don't care about that. You ain't doing nothing for me now. A lot of them disrespect their elders now because their parents weren't taught to respect their elders. And we have to, this is where I'm in at right here. The political readjustment of the world means this, that every race must find a home. Hence, the great cry of Palestine for the Jews, Ireland for the Irish, India for the Indians, and simultaneously, Africans are raising the cry of Africa for Africans, those at home and those abroad. When are we going to start saying that? When are we going to get that mindset that we have to be for us? Do you understand that these Jews and these Palestinians are dying right now because of something that happened thousands of years ago? They're still fighting among each other because of the disagreement that they had thousands of years ago. And then you have these Jews and Palestinians over here that is mad because America is not helping the Palestinians, or the Americans are not helping the Jews, and us Africans is right in the middle of it. They literally will help America's downfall because they mad about what's going on between two people that have been fighting each other for 2,000 years. Come on, give me a break. When are Africans going to be for Africans?
Right. He was riding horseback. He was riding on a camel. It was the white man that was in chains. It was the white man that had the apron around him. It was the white man that was walking the hot sand. We walked him at high noon. We wouldn't even let him walk at night. We stopped at night. And you know how hot the sands are, the sun and the sand is in Arabia. We expected the white man to die when we were running him out of the east. But that fool lived, brother.
Okay. All right. Thank you for listening. You all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Till next time. Peace.